Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile with a message for everyone paying big wireless way too much. Please, for the love of everything good in this world, stop. With Mint, you can get premium wireless for just $15 a month. Of course, if you enjoy overpaying, no judgments, but that's weird. Okay, one judgment. Anyway, give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. Intro rate first 3 months only, then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See full terms at mintmobile.com.
Hey everybody, it's Meredith. Today I give you a bonus episode of a podcast that isn't mine. It's Say More, hosted by my colleague Shirley Leung, a wonderful Boston Globe columnist who loves deep conversation. I wanted to share this particular episode because it's an interview with sex educator Emily Nagoski, who wound up co-writing a book with her sister about stress and burnout and how it affects all parts of our lives. We do a lot of talk about self-care on Love Letters, and I thought you'd enjoy this take from Shirley and Emily about what it can really mean. Enjoy, and we'll be back soon.
Welcome to Say More from Boston Globe Opinion. This is part 4 of our new series, Say More on Beating Burnout. I'm Shirley Leung. On the last show, we talked to Krista Tibbett about finding quiet in modern life. Today, I'm talking to someone who found the topic of burnout by accident. You could say it found her. Emily Nagoski started as an expert on sex, teaching and writing books to help women feel better in their bodies. Her first book was called Come As You Are. And when it came out, sex wasn't what people wanted to talk about.
When that book came out, I was traveling all over talking to anyone who would listen about the science of women's sexual well-being. And over at the end of my talk, people would come up to me and be like, yeah, all that stuff about sex is great. That's great. Thank you for that science. But you know, the chapter that changed everything for me was that one chapter about stress and emotion processing.
Burnout, it seemed, was rampant in American society, especially among women. Emily realized her own sister, Amelia, was a perfect example of what was affecting so many people. Amelia had just been hospitalized with burnout, and Emily's science came to the rescue.
She was in her doctoral program. She was working a full-time job. She was going to school full-time. She had 3 teenage stepkids and an hour-long commute each way.
Wow.
And eventually her body was like, you got to stop this. And it forced her to stop by giving her intense abdominal pain and a white blood cell count that was through the roof. And they ultimately were like, we don't know what it is. It's probably just stress. Go home and relax with your 3 teenage stepkids and your full-time job. You go home and relax.
And so what did you tell her from her hospital bed? What advice did you give her?
No, so I showed up with a stack of peer-reviewed science on like the physiology of stress. The day that she called me, she was sitting on the stairs in her house crying, reading like one of the books I had given her. And she's like, this book says that emotions happen in the body. Emotions aren't just ideas, they're real.
Yeah. That's why we burn out. So I want to go back to your first book on sexual well-being. So why did you have a chapter about burnout in your book about sex? What's the connection?
My editor asked that question too. Do we need this? And the reason is that the way sexual response works is this thing called the dual control mechanism. So dual control, we know that there's going to be 2 parts. And one is a sexual accelerator or gas pedal that notices all the sex-related stuff that's happening in all of our exteroceptive senses, everything we see, hear, smell, touch, or taste, everything we think, believe, or imagine, and all of our internal body sensations. And that sends a turn-on signal that many of us are familiar with. But at the same time that that's happening, in parallel, we have brakes that are noticing all the good reasons not to be turned on right now. And stress is one of the most predictable things that's going to be hitting the brake. So if I want to help people have high quality sexual functioning where they feel like they can access all the pleasure that is their body's birthright, they need to know that stress is likely to hit their brakes and what to do when that happens.
So I'm glad you kept that chapter in your book.
Right.
So you recently opened up about your own struggles with your own sex life. And feeling depressed and anxious about it. Can you talk a little bit about what was going on?
Yeah, it was actually while I was writing Come As You Are. I had never written a book before, and I was real stressed. I was just bouncing around in the anxiety, fear space in my brain, wondering, am I doing it right? Am I doing enough? And so while I was writing it, you might think that like thinking and reading and writing and talking about sex all the time could be, kind of sexy. Turned out no.
No.
I was so stressed out and so exhausted that I lost all interest in actually having any sex with my husband. And we had only been married like a year and a half at that point. We were newlyweds still. And I was like, sorry. I finished the book. Things got better. Then I went on a book tour and it got a lot worse. So I would try to follow my own advice from the book. So in chapter 7, I talk about responsive desire, where instead of waiting for the mood, you like put your body in the bed. You let your skin touch your partner's skin. And a lot of the time your body's going to go, oh, right. I really like this. I really like this person. That's responsive desire. And it's normal and healthy and a great way to sustain a sexual connection in a long-term relationship. But I would put my body in the bed, let my skin touch my partner's skin, and I would cry and fall asleep.
Oh.
And I was like, oh, I need more advice than I gave in my own book. And what I now know was happening is that because I was trapped in that, I was like stuck right in the middle of a big, giant, months-long stress response. When I put my body in the bed and let my skin touch my partner's skin, instead of my brain interpreting that sensation as like, oh, hey, sexy times. Oh, right, that's a great idea. My body went, oh, I'm safe now. I'm connected with my favorite person on earth. I know that I have come I have come home and I am not at risk right now, and I can release all the stress that I've been carrying around. And so that safety, that sense of connection would result in my body being like, I can cry and release all the stress that I've been holding on to for all this time. And I get to the end of that, and am I in a sexy place then? No, still no, because my body is like exhausted.
Yeah.
I need a nap. I need a snack
Right.
and probably a bath. And then I'm well enough to be able to get to a state of mind that makes it easy to interpret sensations as being sexy.
So have you ever been burned out like your sister?
Oh, yeah. Oh, I mean, not like Amelia. So we're both on the spectrum.
She's your twin, right?
Right.
And she's a choral director, right?
Yeah. And we're really different in terms of our relationship with our bodies. She has alexithymia, which is like a clinical inability to recognize what her body signals are telling her. Like she doesn't recognize when she needs to pee. She can be sitting on her foot and not notice that she has lost all sensation. So she stands up to walk and can't feel her foot.
Oh, wow.
So the reason things could escalate to the point of hospitalization is that she could keep going even when her body was screaming at her,
Yep.
stop, stop. One of the things that has saved me from being hospitalized from stress is that like I can't ignore my body the way she can. It's a freaking superpower, the way she can ignore her body. It's not a good one. It's one that landed her in the hospital twice. I thought when we were writing the book that Amelia's story was a very extreme story that we were telling, and people were going to be like, well, at least I'm not experiencing what Amelia experienced. But the number of people who, I mean, we did an event in London when the book came out, and someone said, I just got out of the hospital yesterday.
Oh, wow.
Because of just stress.
Yeah.
So this is not happening just to a small, tiny fragment of people who are clinically bad at recognizing what their body's signals are. This is happening to a lot of people whose lives are such that they do not feel like they have permission to listen to their body and do what it says in the face of cultural pressure to keep working, the face of economic pressure to keep working, social conditions like, yeah, I need a job and I got to raise my kid. And I guess I'm also supposed to take care of my family members. And I'm the last one on the list. And I don't care how loudly my body is screaming or how little sleep I'm getting. I just need more caffeine and to like pull myself up by my bootstraps and like be stronger. Burnout may be experienced as an individual struggle, but the cure for it is not individual behaviors. The cure for burnout is all of us caring for each other. What happens with burnout is not that we have fallen short, it's that we need more help. actual help with the instrumental processes of our lives every day.
So tell me about your own burnout. What did you experience and how did you recover?
Yeah. So because I have this like low threshold, this high awareness of my body signals, I notice my burnout when it is at a comparatively low level. So for example, one of the things I learned working at my last job was I can work 10 days in a row, about 10 hours a day.
Oh, wow.
Before I must take a day off.
Oh, wow.
Like I must take a day off. And I also always worked in an academic setting.
Yeah.
So my body was set to the semester schedule.
Yeah.
And I like could pace myself to drag myself over the finish line of the end of a semester and know that I would have like a solid week or so to recover from the damage I had done to myself. I would be scraping the bottom of the barrel and I would collapse in a heap.
Does that still happen? I mean, do you recognize it? You must have recognized it at some point that this is happening and this is not healthy.
Better. Yeah. My problems now are really different. Now I have perimenopause, which is a whole other thing.
Me too.
Yeah. Oh, we could talk about that for the sleep impact. So sleep is absolutely essential to recovering from burnout. It's absolutely essential to managing stress. It's absolutely essential. And it is one of the things that gets the most screwed up with perimenopause in particular.
Oh, yeah. I have to tell you, your section on sleep was very eye-opening to me because that is my focus this year about sleep. It is very true. I have two kids, 11 and 13. I can count the number of times where I can sleep through the night on one hand every year for 13 years. I wake up at 2, 3 in the morning. I can't go back to sleep. But you know what? After reading that chapter about sleep and the importance of sleep to breaking your stress cycle, you know what I did last night?
What did you do?
So when I wake up now, I don't check to see what time it is because that's a trigger. If I know it's 2 o'clock, I'm like, I'm so screwed.
Oh, because it starts that spiral of thinking of like, if I fall asleep now, I'll get this much sleep. Oh no, if I fall asleep now, I'll get this much sleep. Struggle with sleep is very much the same as struggle with orgasm. One of the things that's most likely to interfere with it is being worried about it while you're trying to do it.
Right. I've never thought of it that way, but thank you, Emily. Now when I can't fall asleep, I will think about orgasms as well.
There you go. You know, one of the things that can help a person fall asleep.
But you know, the other thing, I think the reason why women struggle with sleep during perimenopausal stage is this concept you talk about, the invisible workplace. Because what happens when I wake up in the middle of the night is I think about all the things I have to do, right? And that's that's why I stay awake.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, the other night, this is insane. I was thinking about summer camp. And I was thinking about maybe I should switch the summer camps. And maybe the 13-year-old will go to rowing camp in Brighton. How will he get there? And then I actually went and actually I woke up and looked on my phone. It's like, can he take the bus? Can he take the T from Brighton? Do I really have to pick him up? Why am I thinking about this right now? Go back to sleep.
So that's not just a rhetorical question. Why were you thinking about that right then?
You know, because I couldn't help myself. Oh, I know. Human giver syndrome, right?
You feel like you have a moral obligation to meet other people's needs, regardless of how much of your own well-being you need to sacrifice. You're trading your well-being for these thoughts about comparatively small aspects of your children's life experience. Like, your children are not in any danger.
More of my conversation with Emily Nagoski after this short break. So what I appreciate about your book is that you focus on the unique ways that burnout affects women. So why do women and men process burnout differently?
What we've been taught about our stress response is totally different. And this is where human giver syndrome comes in. When you're born into a body that makes the adults around you go, it's a girl, they start training you from the beginning to believe that you have a moral obligation to be pretty, happy, calm, generous and unfailingly attentive to the needs of others, right? And because this is a moral obligation, if you fall short in any way, you deserve to be punished. And if there's no one around to punish us, we'll just go ahead and beat the crap out of ourselves. And so this is why, like, the basics of like self-care and like, you can't pour from an empty cup. That stuff doesn't work if you have been taught that your job is to meet other people's needs, regardless of you have to be meeting other people's needs, even if it means sacrificing your own well-being on the altar of other people's comfort and convenience, which is why you're trading your sleep for your kids' commute, planning your kids' commute to summer camp. Right? It's their comfort and convenience.
Theoretical commute.
Right, yeah. They're hypothetical.
Hypothetical commute. Not even their real commute.
Yeah.
Because I haven't even signed up for the camp yet.
So as women, we're not allowed to inconvenience the people around us with anything as trivial as our own basic physiological needs, like sleep and nourishment and love, connection, right? And therefore, we just absorb all of the stress that's happening in our own bodies. We absorb the stress of other people because it's our job to help comfort and make other people feel safe and secure and listen to and meet their needs when they're feeling stressed out. In the research, we know there's like the first shift and the second shift. The phrase second shift was coined in the 1980s to refer to like there's the work you do for a paycheck, there's the work you do at home to make a household and a family function. And when Amelia and I were doing the research on sleep, we found the phrase the third shift, which is exactly what you were doing.
Exactly.
That like there is no time in the 24 hours when it's not primarily a woman's job to get up and do the caretaking, to sacrifice sleep in the interest of caretaking.
So you and your sister are very clear about the cure for burnout, and it isn't about self-care. Can you explain why you're so adamant about that?
The cause of burnout is ultimately that we feel like we are supposed to be able to do all of the things that the world is telling us we are supposed to do. The world is lying to us. The world is a kind of an asshole. And the solution is to believe that the thing that's true is that it's not possible to do all the things that we have been told that we are supposed to be able to do. We have been told that we're supposed to be something it is not possible to be. And that, in fact, we need help. We need each other. The cure for burnout is all of us caring for each other, creating what Amelia and I call bubbles of love, where you connect with people who care about your well-being as much as you care about theirs.
Because I think the the common reaction is, oh, go to the spa, take a day off, right? Go on vacation.
Sure, do those things.
But that's not the cure.
That's not a cure.
Right.
That is a treatment.
Right. That's
a Band-Aid.
Band-Aid, a temporary solution. But we talked about kind of the physical ways you can deal with your stress or breaking the cycle of stress. But a big part of your book also talks about finding purpose in life or naming your purpose in life. I mean, I love the way how you and your sister frame it as finding your something larger.
Right.
So how do you begin finding or articulating your something larger?
Some people just know spontaneously off the top of their head why they're here. I did it honestly when I was in my last year in grad school. I was like, what am I going to do? And I read like a personal branding kind of book, like, what do you offer? And it was by doing that, like, what is my unique thing that I offer, that I was like, oh, I'm here to teach people to live with confidence and joy in their bodies. And that's how I figured it out.
I mean, so 30 years ago, you knew you're something larger. And but 30 years ago is a long time ago. I mean, and given what you've gone through in the last decade, your own struggles with your sex life and
thank God I have known what my purpose was through that. So knowing you're something larger sort of has two functions. When you're doing well, it is fuel for you to keep moving forward. Right. But when you are not doing well, it is like the rope that ties you to the flotsam that prevents you from drowning when the boat has crashed. When you have nothing left, all you have is your source of meaning and purpose. That keeps you alive. It sustains you through times when it feels like nothing else is available to you. It has, with long COVID for me, I have had to confront a lot of internalized ableism about how much I should be able to do. Especially, like, I've been trying to promote a book. And like, my body has a really limited amount of energy each day. And I want to do every interview, and I want to like do all of the live events, and I want to do all the things. And my body is like, you can do approximately 40% of what you think you're supposed to be able to do. And I will only waste more energy if I use some of it beating myself up. I'm doing the work. That is why I'm here. And if I am still doing the work that is why I am here, then I am doing enough.
And so it seems like it's really important to find your something larger if you want to avoid burnout or guard against burnout.
The thing you need to do first is deal with the stress in your body.
Right.
And I mean, this is why the chapters are in the order that they're in.
Right.
1, deal with the stress in your body. 2, deal with the stressors in your life, in particular by figuring out how and when to quit. 3, figure out your something larger, because it is a source of nourishment. It's an irreplaceable nutrient, having that sense of meaning and purpose. When we were writing the book, we're reading all this really intense affective neuroscience. And over, the answer just kept being love. The cure for all this just kept connection, love, caring for each other. Oh, shit. And like, we grew up in a household that was against the rules. We had an alcoholic family of origin. And one of the rules in a lot of alcoholic families of origin is that you do not talk about the things that are happening. Like, you don't talk about it. You don't connect. You just put your head down and you survive and you get through it. And we realized as we're reading all this really hardcore science, like, oh, we're going to have to talk about our feelings. We're going to have to say what it was like to be a child in that home out loud to each other. We're going to have to hear each other. So we did. And even if no one else had gotten anything from it, the process of writing it forced Amelia and me to create for ourselves the kind of relationship people assume we have when we say that we are twins.
Yeah. I mean, you really got to know each other, and you're close as a result of the book.
We repaired 40 years of psychological damage over the course of writing the book.
Emily, all this reflection about your relationship with your sister and how writing this book allowed you to repair, 40 years of I guess, a very fraught relationship. And so, and it made me think about how dealing with burnout is really a self-exploration. I mean, beyond, taking walks or, and connecting with your friends. I mean, you have to spend a lot of time on yourself and thinking about why you're here, right?
I think it's actually even bigger than that, because a lot of what we need to think about when we're doing that self-reflection is how we feel about giving and receiving help, how we feel in connection with others. Because, like, I didn't recover from my own phases of burnout in isolation. Amelia didn't recover from her burnout in isolation. Amelia certainly didn't recover from, like, thinking deeply about her life. She recovered because she quit a bunch of stuff that was unacceptable. She recovered because she got the medical care that she required. She got better because I showed up with a smiley face helium balloon that sang "Don't worry, be happy" when you punched it, and a stuffed animal that looked just like her dog so she could have her dog with her in her hospital. When we feel like we need more grit, what we need is more help. And a lot of what we need when we're feeling burnout is for someone else to turn toward us with kindness and compassion in that moment of need and say, "I'm here to help."
Well, Emily, this has been a great conversation. Emily Nagoski is a sex educator and researcher living in Western Massachusetts. She's a best-selling author. Her book with Amelia is called Burnout, The Secret to Unlocking the Stress Cycle. And Emily's new book is called Come Together, The Science and Art of Creating Lasting Sexual Connections. Emily, thanks for joining me.
Thank you so much. It's been a lot of fun.
We continue our series, Say More on Beating Burnout. I know I told you this was a 4-part series, but I couldn't resist sharing one more conversation with you. Yes, it's a bonus episode. Next week, I am talking to the founders of a club of saying no. The No Club was founded by a group of friends who noticed women were volunteering for all the crappy jobs at work and falling behind.
It's not because men and women somehow are different. It's because we have different expectations of women than we do of men.
These women are seriously smart. I think you'll like this one. Find us next week. Today's episode was produced by Anna Kusmer. Our editor is Jim Dow. Our engineer is Zuzair Ahmed. Our music is from APM Music. If you like the show, please follow us and leave us a review on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. You can email us at saymore@globe.com. I'm Shirley Leung. Thanks for listening.